In the remote village of Eldridge, there stood an old, decrepit house, known to the locals as the Wraith's dwelling. A thick fog always enveloped the house, and its presence was foreboding. No one dared to step inside, for the sinister tales surrounding it were enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. It was said that the house was cursed by an old clockmaker who met a tragic end. Once a distinguished craftsman, Harold Green had created a masterpiece of a clock, which was revered by all who saw it. But as the legend went, the clock never ticked. One stormy night, in a fit of desperation and madness, Harold used an ancient spell to infuse his very soul into the clock. The clock ticked, but at the cost of Harold's life. Since then, anyone who attempted to remove or tamper with the clock faced dreadful consequences. Fast forward to the present day. Emily, an adventurous young journalist, decided to explore the Wraith's dwelling for an exclusive story. Driven by curiosity and the promise of a career-defining article, she ignored the warnings and pried open the rusty gates. The house creaked ominously as she stepped in, her flashlight flickering. Inside, shadows danced on the peeling wallpaper, and an unearthly chill permeated the air. Emily's heart pounded as she navigated the dark, musty corridors. She finally found the clock in a derelict room, covered in cobwebs. Its intricate design still gleamed despite the decay around it. As she approached it, a cold hand seemed to grip her heart. The clock began to tick, each second echoing ominously in the silence. Ignoring her growing dread, Emily reached out to touch the clock. The moment her fingers made contact, her vision blurred, and she was transported to another time. She found herself in Harold's workshop, witnessing his tragic end. The room was filled with his anguished screams as he chanted the spell that bound his soul. Just as she was about to plead with him to stop, Emily was yanked back to the present, the clock now striking midnight. The house's walls seemed to close in on her, shadows transforming into grotesque figures. A voice, hollow and mournful, whispered from the darkness, "You should not have come." Panic surged through Emily as she ran towards the exit, the malevolent laughter of the shadows echoing behind her. The door wouldn't budge. Desperation clawed at her as she heard footsteps approaching, getting louder with each tick of the clock. Just as she felt a cold hand on her shoulder, the door swung open, and she stumbled out into the night, gasping for breath. To this day, Emily never speaks of what she saw in the Wraith's dwelling, but her hair turned white overnight, and the ticking of a clock still haunts her dreams.